Okay, welcome all, and my short session about talking to your customer about this road to composable. First of all, this is not a technical session, although I'm a technical guy, so if you expect code, run away. What is on the agenda? A bit setting the scene about this road to composable, introducing the customer that I want to talk about today. As you will see, if you've seen some of the previous sessions, we'll be in the very beginning of the session of Rob, and we'll end actually where, but the session of Bart. That's the end of this session. A small but maybe significant change already. It's not the road to composable. If anyone knows the road, please tell me. It's just a road to composable. I'll show you the example, what we presented to this customer, a small conclusion, and if you do want to talk more, that's probably for during lunch or later today. We'll start with a small disclaimer. If you use anything that you hear now here in this session or whatever, and you lose business customers, whatever, I am not responsible. So, at home, I don't know. The road to composable. Road to composable. As you know, many resources already available, sessions have been given, blogs, videos, whatever. Too many to mention, but just a few. Peter and Jason last year at SUGCON, Akshay and Kamarus at Symposium, many more, and a complete track now even here at SUGCON, and I think even more than just one track. Most of them focusing on things like architecture, which is pretty normal for this topic, but I'm taking a little bit a different approach. And to do that, first I need to talk about customers and how they are looking at all these composable things. And we're making a bit of a distinction. You have customers who already are in the fast lane. They probably already are on a composable stack. And if they're not, they want to be today or maybe even yesterday. They're not the scope of this session. I mean, they're convinced, so what? Just build it. You also have customers who think they are too big to change. Whether this is true or not, I'm not going to talk about that. Changing their mindset to, maybe we should change, is also a bit out of scope, but maybe you can use something. But there are also a lot of customers who just don't know. They maybe even have no clue what composable is. And if they do, they don't know how to start, they don't know what to do, they don't know when to do, so they are looking at you, at me, at all of us to explain them. What is it? What should they do? We need to help them. This is also where the customer that I'm going to talk about in this session is related. So we should help them. And what we shouldn't do is scare them. This customer is on Sitecore XP, like many, for over a decade actually, a long-time customer. They're on 10.2 now. They had several upgrades, and you know how upgrades go. Customer is always happy at the end. They're multi-site, multilingual, they have a preview site, they have integrations with external APIs. I mean, I guess this all sounds very familiar. Using SXA, using Forms, using AXM, so quite some modules in there. This is, I think, quite typical customer. So how did we approach this? First of all, some general guidelines. This is your customer. They're cute, they're cuddly, you like them, they eat from your hand, all is fine. But if you take this road badly, they will bite. But make sure we can avoid that. First thing to do is to gather the right people. You need IT people, because you are going to change the architecture. IT people will want to know. You need business people, because you will be changing the website, and you will be definitely changing the way they maintain it. So they will want to know. You also need decision makers, because you don't want to tell this story to somebody who needs to tell it to somebody else, and then again to somebody else, before a decision can be made. You should be the one telling the story. So try to gather all these people around the table, really around the table, if possible. I know it's difficult these days, but try to do it in person, because this happens in Teams meetings. You know it's true. And this is not what you want, this is what you want. You want their attention. It's an important story. It's a big story. And what you don't want to do is scare your customer. Really, really don't. Composable is not scary. So, if you feel stress with your customer, and I can tell you there will be, take it away. No stress. Just be confident and take away the stress. To do that, avoid words like rebuild. It's not a big construction site. Don't rush in there and say rebuild. No. Bad choice of words. Instead, just make them curious. Yeah? Make them curious. Use positive vibes. But always be honest. I mean, don't start lying to them. It won't help. What will help is tell them all this can happen at their pace. The customer decides the rhythm when you take which steps. So, sorry developers, it's not up to you. It's the customer who decides, and at the end what's important, you get all the noses in the same direction. So how do you do this? In short, well, you prepare an architecture, you find parts that you need to or can move, maybe even remove. And for all that stuff, you check on costs, you check on impact on user experience, and you bundle that into a roadmap. What is really important to tell your customer is that this roadmap can be taken one step at a time. There can be even a lot of time between all those steps, and it can be done in an agile way. You can change course during this road. There's no problem there. Also, what, in my belief, you should do is also you shouldn't mark your territory yet. Product selection, sorry, Sitecore, but that can be done later. You don't need to select all your products on the first meeting. Way too soon. Because you want products that are a right fit. And to decide that, you decide it on the moment that you're actually going to do that. Because maybe one of the steps that you need to take, you will be taking this in a year, or maybe 2 years. Who knows what Content Hub 1 will look like in 2 years? I mean, maybe somebody does, but I don't. One problem maybe, if that customer has a procurement department, they can be a pain in the... they might ask for one big number all up front, and that just doesn't match the story. If they do that, just tell them, okay, we'll split this up in all different projects, and it's just going to cost you more and take a lot longer. But, okay, it might happen. So this roadmap that we presented to the customer, first step was to replace Sitecore forms. We're going to replace this with a composable alternative. Not mentioning names, we actually also didn't mention names here to the customer. We are going to focus, however, on a better experience. Because, like I meant, there should be benefits for your customer. So we're going to find an alternative that gives them a better experience. Why? Because there's also a cost. There will be a cost, there will be a license cost, there needs some implementation or transferring forms. There will be a cost. Why is this our first step? because Forms actually has way too many dependencies. Dependencies to the CMS, in our case, dependency to AXM, and so on, cutting dependencies. So Forms was an option to get rid of and move to something else. And actually also because our step 2 would be to replace AXM. Why do we want to replace AXM? Because we noticed that for this customer, with a few small tweaks, if we can get rid of AXM, we can get rid of the whole XDB, which will lower costs tremendously. Customers really like that, lower costs. So this gets them into the story. If they say, oh, this is already step 2, lower costs, and they're happy. So again, we're going to look for a composable mail solution. Still focusing, we can find something with a better experience than AXM. And except for, we should do some feature mapping on CMS integration where AXM is really good, but for the rest, I think we can find something with a better experience. We did mention products here, or at least one. We did mention Sitecore Send. Note there is a difference between mentioning products and telling them this is it. This is making them curious, like, okay, we have examples, just look at them, whatever. Doesn't need to be that one, but it could be. The next one is SXA search, so another search solution. When we implemented, the latest version of their websites, we used the SXA search components. They were free, they came out of the box, we put them on Sol or whatever. They had a search. It went fast, customer was happy, he had a search, and actually we never changed it, it's still in there. But it is a part that we can get out, remove, put a composable search solution in place. This comes with a cost, license cost, implementation. Be aware that if you implement it in a way that it's not tightly coupled to your CMS or your Scoot again. So towards the customer, focus on a better experience. Should be a better search experience out there than a free solution. So we mentioned Sitecore search. You could mention other products. Shouldn't say that again at the Sitecore conference. But still, just mentioning products. Then in our 4th step, we're going to look at code, because there will be code in your project, which you probably can move, which is now dependent on your CMS. That could be by code links, could be just because it's running on the same server. So for instance, as an example, in this case, we have many APIs that feed data to React apps. We have some scheduled tasks. So we already detected, okay, we can easily move these. We can decouple them from the CMS, we can put them in Azure Functions or something like that. And the reason that we're doing this is actually to make our 5th and then final step as small as possible. If you were in the previous talk, you'll know why you want this. And even if it is too big, there are solutions now. So we're going to move this to a composable, headless alternative. That could be XM Cloud, that could be Content Hub 1. And to be honest, when we presented this to the customer, you saw their minds go, oh, this was actually an opportunity. It was no longer something like, oh my God, we have to redo everything. No, we can rethink everything. This is opportunity. It does, however, and they understood at that moment, it requires a new front-end layer. We didn't use the word rebuild. And which made them even happier, we could detect reusable pieces, even in that front-end part. Because, we do have quite a few React apps, which have taken quite a bit of time, actually, to develop. And we can just reuse them because we can use them in a headless front end as well. So that's quite some time saved still on what might be a big project. So I have 3 seconds for my conclusion. You make a roadmap. You define all the steps and focus on the benefits towards the end goal. You talk to the right people, be honest to them about all the steps you need to take or shouldn't take. You do not scare your customer, because in all, it's a positive story, this composable thing. And this is missing the questions, but I don't know if we still have time, so thank you, sponsors.